I'm Vanessa, 27 years old. Last Tuesday, I stood in Bellamy's jewelry store, admiring diamond earrings I'd saved months for. After years of scraping by, I finally had something to celebrate. That's when my sister Ariella burst in, her face full of rage. Before I could speak, her hand slapped my cheek, the sound echoing through the quiet store. What happened next changed everything. Before I share what happened next, tell me where you're watching from. Hit that like button if a family member has ever humiliated you in public. Growing up with Ariella felt like hiding from a tornado. She was 2 years older, prettier, and always the star. I worked after-school jobs from age 16. Ariella jumped between hobbies and friends, sure our parents would pay her way. They always did. Our home in suburban Phoenix was simple. We had the basics. Dad taught high school math. Mom ran a small clothing boutique. They weren't rich, but they gave Ariella everything: dance lessons, cheer camps, new clothes each season. I saved babysitting cash for art supplies and graphic design software. Vanessa, be reasonable, Mom said when I mentioned the unfairness. Your sister needs more help. You've always been independent. Independence wasn't optional. It was how I survived. By the time I turned 20, I'd had enough of the suffocating dynamics at home. I packed my bags and moved out, scraping together rent for a tiny studio apartment on the outskirts of Phoenix. To make ends meet, I worked full-time at a local print shop, inhaling the sharp scent of ink and paper all day while juggling night classes in graphic design at the community college. It wasn't glamorous, long hours on my feet, eyes straining under fluorescent lights, but it was mine. For the first time, I felt a glimmer of independence, like I was carving out a path that didn't revolve around my family's expectations or my sister's endless spotlight. Ariella, on the other hand, lingered at home until she was 25, basking in the comfort of our parents' support. When she finally decided to move out after her third half-hearted attempt at community college, Mom and Dad gifted her the down payment on a sleek condo in a trendy neighborhood. "It's just to get her started," Mom had said, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. I remember biting my tongue, thinking about the student loans I'd taken out and the ramen dinners I'd endured to avoid asking for help. But that was the pattern. Ariella's needs always seemed to come with a bow, while mine were met with a shrug. Last month marked my 5th year at Boyd Creative, a mid-sized graphic design agency downtown. I climbed the ranks from a junior designer buried in grunt work to leading major accounts, where my ideas shaped national campaigns. My boss, Natalie, a no-nonsense woman with a sharp bob and an even sharper eye for talent, pulled me into her office one afternoon. "Vanessa, you've knocked it out of the park with the Peterson campaign," she said, sliding a folder across her desk. "That rebranding? Genius. Here's your raise, effective immediately." The number on the paper made my pulse quicken, enough to breathe easier, to maybe even splurge a little. For once, my budget had breathing room, and I decided to treat myself to something I'd never dared before: real diamond earrings. Not the flashy kind, just simple studs that whispered elegance. The Sunday before the store incident, we gathered at my parents' house for our ritual family dinner. The air smelled of Mom's roasted chicken and garlic mashed potatoes, a comforting backdrop to what I hoped would be a celebratory evening. I arrived early, buzzing with excitement about sharing my promotion. But as usual, Ariella commandeered the spotlight the moment she walked in. "Everyone, big news!" she squealed, thrusting her left hand forward like a trophy. A massive diamond ring sparkled under the dining room lights, catching every eye. Trevor proposed. "We're getting married next spring." Trevor, her boyfriend of just 5 months, stood beside her with an awkward smile plastered on his face. He worked in commercial real estate, drove a flashy sports car, and seemed more like an accessory to Ariella's lifestyle than a true partner. Mom enveloped her in a hug, tears glistening. "Oh, wonderful, darling." Dad patted Trevor on the back with hearty enthusiasm. "Welcome to the family, son." I waited for a lull, my heart pounding as I cleared my throat. "I have some news, too. I got promoted at work, lead designer now, with a big raise." Mom nodded vaguely, her eyes still on Ariella's ring. That's nice, honey. Ariella, tell us, how did he propose? Was it romantic? The dismissal stung, a familiar ache that twisted in my chest. As the evening wore on, the conversation orbited Ariella. Venue ideas, dress fittings, honeymoon destinations. My promotion? Forgotten like yesterday's news. Driving home that night, the city lights blurring through my windshield, I decided those earrings would be more than jewelry. They'd be a symbol, a reminder that my achievements mattered, even if only to me. In a world that often overlooked me, I'd shine for myself. Bellamy's wasn't the priciest jewelry store in Phoenix, but stepping inside felt like entering another realm. Crystal chandeliers dangled from the high ceilings, casting prismatic rainbows across polished glass cases filled with gems that whispered promises of luxury. The staff glided about in sharp black suits, their movements precise and unobtrusive, while discreet security cameras watched from every angle. I'd passed the storefront countless times on my commutes, peering in with a mix of curiosity and intimidation, but never dared to enter. Until now. That Tuesday, I took a half-day off from work, determined to make this moment special. I slipped into my best navy dress, the one that hugged my figure without trying too hard, and spent extra time on my shoulder-length brown hair, smoothing it into soft waves. A touch of light makeup, mascara to accent my dark eyes, a neutral lip, and I even dusted off my rarely worn heels. It wasn't my usual jeans and sneakers vibe, but I wanted to feel like I belonged in this world of opulence, even if just for an hour. Pushing open the heavy glass door, I was greeted by the soft strains of classical music and the faint, rich scent of perfume lingering in the air. A tall woman with silver-streaked black hair approached, her smile warm and genuine. Her Torres. Welcome to Bellamy's, she said. How can I assist you today? My mouth went dry, nerves bubbling up. I'm looking for diamond earrings. Something small but good quality. This is my first real purchase like this. She didn't bat an eye, no judgment in her expression, only excitement. First diamonds are always special. Let's find the perfect pair for you. Tara led me to a gleaming case, unlocking it with a key from her pocket and pulling out trays lined with velvet. She explained the nuances, cuts, clarity, carats, her voice patient as she selected pairs that caught the light just right. I began to relax, the tension easing from my shoulders as I tried on a few, admiring how they transformed my reflection in the small mirror. Then the door chimed again, admitting a new customer. I turned at the sound of a familiar voice slicing through the serene atmosphere like a knife. Oh my God, Vanessa, what are you doing here? Ariella stood there, flanked by her college friends Bridget and Kayla. She looked every bit the picture of effortless glamour, tight white jeans hugging her curves, a pink silk blouse that shimmered under the lights, and sky-high heels that added 3 inches to her already statuesque frame. Her blonde highlights, fresh from the salon, cascaded past her shoulders in perfect waves. Are you lost? Her voice carried across the store, laced with mockery. Is this place a bit too fancy for you? Tara's eyebrows rose slightly, but she maintained her composure. Your sister is browsing our diamond collection. Would you like to join us? Ariella laughed, a sharp tinkling sound as she sauntered over, her friends trailing like shadows. Yes, we share DNA. Hard to believe when you look at us, right? The jab landed like it always did, a reminder of our differences. Ariella had inherited Mom's golden looks, blonde hair, blue eyes, the kind of beauty that turned heads. I took after Dad, dark features, an athletic build honed from years of running to clear my head. I didn't know you'd be shopping today, I said, keeping my voice steady. Looking for wedding bands? Just browsing, she shrugged, her eyes scanning the case dismissively. Trevor and I might head to Cartier in Scottsdale later. You here for some costume jewelry? Tara cleared her throat politely. Actually, she has excellent taste. We're considering these half-carat diamond studs, beautiful princess cut. Ariella squinted at them, her lips curling. Half-carat on your paycheck? That's overkill, don't you think? I got promoted, I replied, feeling my face heat. I can afford it now. Promoted at that tiny print shop. Wow. Sarcasm dripped from her words like venom. An extra buck an hour? Bridget giggled behind her hand, while Kayla pretended to examine a nearby bracelet display. An older couple browsing watches nearby exchanged uncomfortable glances. It's a graphic design agency, I corrected, though I knew it wouldn't matter to her. The raise is substantial. Good for you, Ariella said, snatching up another pair of earrings from the tray. But smart people invest their money, not waste it on shiny trinkets. That's always been your problem, bad choices. 5 years of therapy had taught me to recognize her hooks, the way she baited me into defensiveness. But the words still stung, burrowing under my skin. Tara, sensing the tension, redirected smoothly. These suit your skin tone perfectly, she said, holding the studs up to my ear. The princess cut really catches the light. Perfect, I agreed, forcing a smile and ignoring Ariella. I'll take them. Seriously? Ariella stepped closer, her perfume overwhelming in the confined space. Spending all this right after my engagement announcement? So typical of you. The accusation floored me. What do my earrings have to do with your engagement? You can't stand me being in the spotlight. You've always been jealous. Her voice rose, drawing more attention. A security guard near the entrance glanced our way. I let out a disbelieving laugh. You've always had the spotlight, Ariella. I've spent my life in your shadow. Ladies, Tara interjected gently. Perhaps we could. Ariella cut her off, her eyes flashing. Funny how you remember it. You're the one Mom and Dad always praise, the scholarships, the steady job. Poor Ariella can't measure up to perfect Vanessa. Her twisted narrative stunned me. Had we grown up in the same house? She conveniently forgot how our parents always prioritized her needs, her wants, her endless dramas. That's not true, and you know it, I said softly, acutely aware of the growing audience. 2 more salespeople had paused their tasks to stare. An elegant woman examining necklaces stepped back, her expression pinched. You know what? I don't have to listen to this. I turned to Tara. I'd like to purchase the earrings now. Don't walk away from me. Ariella grabbed my arm, her manicured nails digging in painfully. I yanked free, my heart racing. Don't cause a scene, Ariella. This is humiliating for both of us. I'm humiliating? You're the one buying jewelry you can't afford just to steal my engagement thunder. Not everything revolves around you, I snapped, my patience shattering. This has nothing to do with your engagement. I earned this money. I saved for months. For once, I'm treating myself. Tara quietly boxed the earrings and headed toward the register, hoping to expedite the transaction and diffuse the drama. Ariella followed, her face flushed with rage. How much are those anyway? Tara paused, glancing at me for permission. I nodded wearily. They're $2,800, she replied evenly. Ariella's mouth dropped open. Almost $3,000? You're insane. That's what Mom and Dad spent on my entire college semester. Which they paid for, I reminded her pointedly. I'd worked through school, juggling jobs and classes. This is my money. It's wasteful. A total waste. Ariella's voice boomed, echoing off the walls. You're just trying to prove a point because you're jealous of my ring, my fiancé, my life. I'm not jealous of you, Ariella. I never was. The truth seemed to snap something in her. Her face contorted in fury, and before I could react, her hand swung out, connecting with my cheek in a sharp slap. Crack echoed like a whip through the hushed store. Pain bloomed across my face, hot and stinging as involuntary tears pricked my eyes. The room fell deathly silent. Classical music seemed to fade into the background, reality narrowing to the burning sensation on my skin and the shock rippling through me. My hand flew to my cheek, fingers trembling as I stared at my sister. In 27 years, through countless arguments and petty rivalries, she'd never hit me. Not once. Tara's mouth formed a perfect O of shock. Bridget and Kayla froze, their eyes glued to the floor. The security guard straightened, striding toward us with purpose. Then, a deep, authoritative voice cut through the tension from behind me. "Touch my wife again and you'll see what happens." The voice belonged to a tall man in his late 30s, impeccably dressed in a charcoal suit that screamed bespoke tailoring. His dark hair was neatly styled, his jaw chiseled, and his steel-gray eyes were locked on Ariella with unyielding intensity. "Excuse me," Ariella stammered, her confidence fracturing. The man stepped forward, positioning himself slightly in front of me like a shield. "You heard me. Raise a hand to my wife again and you'll regret it." Confusion rippled through the store. Tara's eyes widened. Even the guard hesitated, assessing the situation. "Your wife," Ariella echoed, glancing between us in bewilderment. I was just as lost, my mind reeling but too stunned to speak. "Yes, my wife," the man continued, his voice steady as granite. "I don't appreciate seeing her attacked in public." Fear flickered across Ariella's face as she took in his expensive watch, the fine fabric of his suit, and his commanding presence. For once, she was speechless. The man turned to me, and for a split second I saw confusion in his eyes as he studied my face. His assured demeanor faltered briefly before he recovered. "Claire, are you okay?" he asked, his tone softening. "I'm not," I began. But he pivoted back to Ariella. "I don't know who you are or what your issue is, but this behavior is unacceptable." He added firmly, "Leave now before I have security escort you out." Ariella's shock morphed into indignation. "Do you know who I am? That's my sister, not your wife. Her name's Vanessa." The man blinked, scrutinizing me more closely. A faint blush crept up his neck as realization dawned. "I apologize for the mix-up," he said, his poise slipping for just a moment. "But that doesn't excuse your actions." I finally found my voice. "Who are you?" "Harrison Walsh," he replied, extending a hand. "I'm truly sorry for the mistake. From behind, you look just like my wife, Claire." The name clicked instantly. Harrison Walsh, the founder of Innovate Tech, the company revolutionizing digital security. His net worth was in the billions, his face gracing business magazines and tech conferences worldwide. "You're Harrison Walsh." Ariella's tone shifted to saccharine sweetness. "Oh wow, I'm a huge fan of your work." Harrison ignored her, focusing on me. "Are you all right?" That slap looked painful. I nodded, my cheeks still throbbing. "I'm fine. Thank you for stepping in, even if it was mistaken identity." "My error, but the concern is genuine," Harrison said. "Family disputes shouldn't escalate to physical violence." "It wasn't a fight," Ariella interjected, scrambling to salvage the situation. "We were just goofing around. Sisters do that all the time. Vanessa knows I didn't mean anything by it." The lie ignited a fresh wave of anger in me. "That's not true. You slapped me because I wouldn't let you belittle me for buying these earrings." "Absurd." Ariella appealed to Harrison desperately. "Vanessa's exaggerating. She's just mad because I'm engaged and she's single." Harrison's expression remained impassive. "I saw the whole thing. You mocked her achievements, guilt-tripped her spending. When words failed, you resorted to violence." That moment, the security guard arrived, accompanied by a sharp-dressed older man in pinstripes, clearly the manager. "Mr. Walsh," the older man said respectfully. "Is there a problem?" "I'm Mr. Bellamy, the owner." Harrison nodded in greeting. "This woman," he gestured to Ariella, "assaulted another customer." "I did not," Ariella protested. "It's a misunderstanding. Tell them, Vanessa." All eyes turned to me. I felt the familiar pull, the instinct to smooth things over, to downplay the incident for the sake of family peace. It's what I'd always done, swallowing my hurt to keep the boat from rocking. But that slap had cracked something open inside me. A resolve I didn't know I had. She slapped me, I stated clearly, my voice unwavering. Because I bought earrings instead of tolerating her criticism. Mr. Bellamy's face hardened. We have zero tolerance for violence in this establishment. You'll need to leave immediately. Are you serious? Ariella spat, her composure crumbling. Do you know who our father is? That's irrelevant, Mr. Bellamy replied coolly. Frank, please escort her and her friends out. The guard, Frank, stepped forward. This way, ma'am. Vanessa, stop this. Ariella's voice pitched higher, desperate. Tell them it's just sister stuff. I remained silent, watching as Frank guided her toward the door with a firm but gentle grip on her elbow. Bridget and Kayla followed, their faces flushed with embarrassment. The threshold, Ariella whirled around. You'll regret this, Vanessa. Wait until Mom and Dad hear how you humiliated me in public. Once they were gone, an awkward quiet settled over the store, the tension lingering like smoke. Harrison turned to me, genuine remorse in his eyes. I'm sorry if I complicated things further. Let me make it right. Coffee after you finish your purchase? I can explain properly. I hesitated, the whirlwind of events leaving me off balance. But his earnest expression won me over. Okay, coffee sounds good. Mr. Bellamy personally handled my transaction, apologizing profusely for the disruption. My hand shook as I signed the credit card slip, the adrenaline still coursing through me. Tara handed me the elegant blue bag containing the earrings. Harrison waited by the door, patient and composed. We walked out together, the afternoon sun warm on my skin, and I wondered what cosmic joke had thrown a billionaire into the middle of my family drama. Harrison chose a quaint cafe just a block away, tucked off the main street. It was upscale yet cozy, with private booths and the soft hum of jazz playing in the background, the kind of place I'd always assumed was too pricey for me. I come here when I need to think, Harrison said as we settled into a corner table. Great espresso and it's discreet. We ordered, Americano for him, latte for me, and as the steaming cups arrived, Harrison leaned forward, his expression apologetic. I need to properly explain what happened in the store. My wife Claire is in London on business. I was at Bellamy's picking up an anniversary gift for her. From behind, your height, your hair, even the blue dress, you were a dead ringer for her. When I saw the slap, instinct took over. It's okay, I assured him, still processing the surreal turn of events. You probably prevented things from escalating worse. Ariella hates being called out in public. Harrison's face shadowed slightly. Family can be complicated. I won't pretend to understand your dynamic with your sister. No, you nailed it, I admitted, cradling my warm mug. Ariella's always been the favored one. She's not used to me pushing back. Ah, the golden child syndrome. Harrison nodded knowingly. I've seen it. My brother and I dealt with something similar for years. Something in his tone piqued my curiosity. Dealt with? Did it get better? Harrison took a sip of his coffee before responding. Yes, eventually. It took distance and some brutally honest conversations. Tyler resented living in my shadow after Innovate Tech took off. He felt constantly compared, like his path was lesser. Sounds familiar, I said softly. Except I was the one in Ariella's shadow. It's the same root issue, comparison stealing joy, Harrison mused. Once Tyler and I confronted the resentment head-on and communicated openly, things improved. Now he runs our European operations, carving his own success. Conversation flowed effortlessly. Harrison was a billionaire, yet he spoke with grounded authenticity, no arrogance, just real insight. He listened intently as I opened up about Ariella, our parents, and the years of feeling sidelined. So, these earrings, he nodded toward the bag on the table, they're more than just jewelry to you. They're proof that my hard work matters, I explained. That I matter even without my family's validation. Harrison nodded deeply, understanding flickering in his eyes. I get that. When I sold my first software at 19, I bought a ridiculously expensive watch. I didn't need it, but it was tangible validation. Exactly, I said, amazed at how precisely he captured the sentiment. Our cups were empty when Harrison glanced at his phone, a slight frown creasing his brow. I have a meeting in 30 minutes, but I've enjoyed this. He paused, then asked, What do you do exactly in graphic design? I'm a lead designer at Boyd Creative. We handle branding and marketing for national clients. I specialize in digital media integration. Harrison's eyes lit up with genuine interest. Digital media integration? That's exactly the skill set we're hunting for at Innovate Tech. Our marketing team needs fresh ideas for our consumer security app. Really? I couldn't hide my surprise. Would you be interested in sharing your portfolio? No pressure, just an opportunity to explore. My heart raced at the prospect. Innovate Tech was known for its innovative culture and competitive salaries. Even an interview could open doors. I'd love to, I replied, trying to temper my excitement. Harrison smiled and handed me his business card. Email me directly. I'll forward it to our creative director. As we stood to leave, Harrison paused. One more thing. Don't let your sister's words diminish your accomplishment today. Those earrings represent your effort. Wear them with pride. I nodded, touched by his perceptiveness. Thank you for everything. Walking to my car, I felt an unexpected lightness, the morning's chaos receding. Ariella's confrontation had hurt, but Harrison's intervention had shifted my perspective. For perhaps the first time, I'd stood my ground without apologizing for taking up space. My phone buzzed incessantly with incoming texts. 3 from Mom, 2 from Dad, 7 from Ariella. I silenced it without reading them. Whatever family fallout awaited could wait until I was ready. By the time I got home that evening, my phone showed 23 texts and 9 missed calls. I kicked off my shoes, sank into the couch, and scrolled through them, the weight of the day settling in. Mom's messages started concerned. Vanessa, Ariella called crying. What happened at Bellamy's? Escalating to pleading. Call me, honey. We need to talk this out as a family. Dad's were more direct. Your sister says you had her thrown out of a store. That can't be right. Explain. Ariella's barrage was a mix of rage and manipulation. How dare you humiliate me like that, followed by Mom and Dad are devastated. You're tearing the family apart. And then the guilt trip. I was just joking. Why do you always overreact? I set the phone down, rubbing my still tender cheek. The earrings sat on the coffee table, their box a silent testament to my resolve. Tomorrow I'd face the family storm. But tonight I allowed myself a moment of peace, replaying Harrison's words in my mind. Maybe this was the catalyst I needed, to finally step out of the shadows and into my own light. Ariella's texts went mad. How dare you shame me? To Sneaky, Mom's really upset with you to fake nice. I forgive your overreaction. Parents' notes were biased, demanding a call to explain my scene and sister's shame. None noted the slap. I put my phone down and opened the velvet box with my earrings. In soft lamp glow, diamonds sparkled, throwing small rainbows on walls. They looked great, but key, they were mine. Earned by me, picked by me, bought by me. Instead of a family call, I updated my digital portfolio that night. The Harrison's offer was real. I aimed to be ready. I picked top projects, refreshed my resume, and wrote a pro email to his card address. Ply hit the next morning at work, nearly spilling my coffee. Vanessa, thanks for your strong portfolio. Creative Director Amy Sullivan wants to meet Friday at 2 p.m. Confirm if it works. Regards, Harrison Walsh. Not just intro. He set up a real interview. I replied quickly, yes, then floated through the morning in shock and thrill. That night, I braced for my parents' call. As predicted, Mom answered madly. Vanessa Marie Hayes, what happened yesterday? Ariella's crushed. I breathed deep. Mom, Ariella says she slapped my face in a public store? Pause. She misunderstood. You caused a scene on her engagement. Not true, I said strongly. I bought earrings with promotion money, which no one cheered at Sunday dinner. Ariella arrived, bashed me, and when I stood up, she slapped hard, left mark. I'm sure she didn't mean it. I cut in. Stranger stepped in 'cause it was wrong. The store owner made her leave. Stranger? Ariella said some guy butted into family stuff. I nearly laughed. That guy was Harrison Walsh, Innovate Tech founder, billionaire who saw abuse. Mom went quiet, taking it in. At last, your sister's still upset. Sure. Facing results hurts when I'm used to it. Vanessa, awful to say about my sister. Mom, when was Ariella facing fallout? When you or Dad do not side with her. Another pause. We don't side. I laughed. Mom, sides have taken our whole lives. I'm just seeing it now. Don't know what's in you, Mom said tensely. Not like you. Maybe the issue is, I said softly. Maybe it should have been me always. Talk ended soon. Mom, disappointed in my view, suggested apologizing to Ariella. I said I'd think, knowing no plan to call. Friday came with buzz and jitters. I picked pro clothes, wore new earrings for a boost, and reached sleek Innovate Tech HQ 15 minutes early. The building was a modern wonder, glass and green stuff, and a lobby with a huge plant wall. The reception sent me to the 14th floor, met by nice assistant Jordan. Miss Sullivan runs late, Jordan said to a comfy wait spot. Water or coffee? Water is great. Thanks. As Jordan left, a familiar voice said my name. Harrison Walsh came with a warm smile, casual in dark jeans and navy shirt. Vanessa, glad you made it. How are you? Good, thanks. A bit nervous, I owned. No need. Amy liked your portfolio, especially Sunrise Healthcare. She's keen to meet. We talked until a woman with copper hair and green glasses came. You Vanessa, she said, hand out. Amy Sullivan. Sorry for being late. Creative fires. You get it. Totally. I smiled, liking her straight style. Harrison joining? Amy asked. If okay with you both, he said. Personal stake in this hire. Amy browsed, but yes. Aspen Room. The interview was different from usual. No basic strengths/weaknesses, but deep chat on design views and problem fixes. She showed current Innovate Tech stuff, asked real critiques, nodded at my ideas. Harrison watched mostly, sometimes smart questions on teamwork and flex. His vibe supported, not scared, and I spoke boldly on my ideas and skills. One last, Amy said, glancing at Harrison. The team works with picky devs on creations. Handle strong types and clashes. I recalled handling Ariella's wants and parents' hopes, diplomatic while keeping lines. Find a shared goal under clash, I said. Most fights from all wanting the best, different routes. Honor views, focus on purpose. Amy nodded, pleased. Vanessa, eye-opening. More candidates, but here by next Wednesday. As Amy packed notes, Harrison asked, time for a quick tour? I'd love, I said, surprised. Harrison showed workspace, met team folks. Face collaborative but focused, with quiet spots, stand desks, rooftop garden for outdoor work in nice weather. What do you think? Harrison asked on the roof, city view. Incredible, I said. Designed for creative and health balance. That's our aim, he nodded. Value people do their best work. Back in the lobby, Harrison stopped. Hope not prying, but how's family post-Tuesday? I sighed. Messy. They want my apology to Ariella. Don't view her actions as an issue. Harrison's face looked thoughtful. Family habits stick around. It took years for my brother and me to change ours. He paused, then said, no matter the job outcome, Vanessa, keep the confidence from Bellamy's. That self-defense works everywhere, not just stores. Thanks, I said, truly touched by his ongoing advice. Means a lot. Driving home, I thought over the odd chain of events leading here. A hurtful public fight somehow opened doors I'd never dreamed of. Job or no job, something core shifted in how I saw myself and my skills. My phone rang, pulling into my complex. It was Ariella. I hesitated, then answered. Hello? Vanessa. Her voice was tense. We gotta talk about it. I breathed deep. Yes, but not if you start wanting my sorry. Excuse me. Her tone got sharp. You shamed me before my friends. No, Ariella. You shamed yourself by slapping me in public. That's assault, FYI. Don't overdo it. Barely a tap. Hard enough for a mark. I pushed back. You did it 'cause I wouldn't let you shame my nice buy. Not about dumb earrings, she snapped. About you stealing my engagement spotlight. The old charge once made me defend. Now it seems sad. Ariella, earrings tie zero to your engagement. Not all's about you. You've changed, she accused. Not the same sister. Right? I agreed. Changed. Won't shrink for your ease anymore. Line silent seconds. Ariella spoke cooler, controlled. Mom and Dad want a Sunday dinner. They expect you. Command, not ask. Past I'd go auto. I'll think, I said. Lots going on. What possibly? Dismissive tone familiar, nearly laughed. Actually, I was interviewed at Innovate Tech. That intervening man said it. More silence. Lying. Why lie? To seem big, Ariella said, but with an unsure tone. No jobs from random meets. Believe what? I said, tired of talking. Gotta go. If it's Sunday, tell Mom. I hung before reply, mixing sad and free. Our relation script shifting, needed but hurt. Sunday came with Mom's text. Dinner 5. Dad's pot roast. On time dress night. No mention of tense talk or Ariella mess. Like we'll force normal. Past I'd comply, smile placate, unspoken sorry. Texted back. They're 5:15. Errands first. Small rebel but big. No more unquestioned terms. Dressed carefully, black jeans, green blouse, and after think new diamond earrings. They sparkled, turning their heads, recalling Bellamy's strength. Whatever dinner, no shrink for peace. The drive to my parents' suburb home felt long. Rehearsed replies to blames, practice calm firm to expected critique. Pulled driveway 517, palms sweat but resolve strong. Dad opened the door, face disapproving and worried. Late, he greeted. Hi, Dad, too, I said, stepping past the entry. The house smelled of pot roast and stress. Living room, Ariella perched sofa edge, phone scroll. Glanced up, entered, face hard. Look who showed. To no one. I ignored. Went to the kitchen, Mom's salad arranged. Looked up with a tight smile. Vanessa, good here. Set table. Usually ask me, not Ariella, nearly auto yes. Paused. Actually, Mom thought talk first on Bellamy's. Hands froze tongs. Not needed. Cooled down. Nice family dinner. Nice dinner, pretend Ariella has no public slap. Act nothing. Mom's smile strained. Vanessa, please. My sister was stressed about the wedding. And no mountain molehills. Predictable downplay, almost funny. Before replying, Ariella opened the doorway. Still on that? Days ago. 5 days, correct. Yes, because no one admits it really happened. Dad joined, wary face. What's this? Vanessa's drama in the jewelry store disagrees. Ariella eye roll. Not disagree. You face slapped 'cause no bully let. Girls, Dad cut. Calm. I am calm. I cut. Stay facts. Ariella public assault. The store owner saw made leave. Strangers intervene. That man has no right to family business. Mom prim. That man emphasize saw abuse. Family can't. Heavy kitchen silence. Mom pale, dad deep frown. Abusive, he repeated. Serious claim, Vanessa. Not claim, describe, I study my voice. Ariella verbal tear years, you both enable. Tuesday, first physical. Unfair, Ariella protested. Always support you. Blatant history twists once doubt itself. Now boost resolve. Name one. Challenge specific support over compete or dim achievement. Ariella's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air, her eyes darting frantically between our parents as if they could swoop in and rescue her from the mess she'd created. But this time there was no easy escape. The air in the living room hung heavy with the remnants of our argument, the kind that had been simmering for years but finally boiled over in that upscale jewelry store. Vanessa, Mom began, her voice adopting that overly sweet tone she used when trying to smooth things over like frosting on a cracked cake. Every family has its ups and downs. We're not perfect, but what matters is that we love each other. Love without respect isn't love, I shot back, my words sharp but steady. It's control. And I'm done being controlled. Dad leaned forward in his armchair, his brow furrowed in sharp worry. What do you mean by that, Vanessa? I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of years of unspoken frustrations pressing on my chest. I'm setting boundaries. No more using family obligations as an excuse to treat me like Ariella's shadow. And if things get physical again like they did today, I'll involve the police. Mom's hand flew to her throat, her eyes widening. Vanessa, no. We can't pretend everything's fine when it's not, but you have to stand by your family. That's just it, I replied, my voice gaining strength. I'm not pretending anymore. And I'm not sorry for standing up for myself. Dad's tone turned incredulous. Is this some kind of ultimatum? No, Dad. It's me telling you what a healthy relationship looks like for me. You all can choose to respect that or not. The information is yours now. Ariella scoffed from her spot on the couch, crossing her arms defensively. This is ridiculous. It's like I committed some horrible crime. It was one slap, Vanessa. One too many, I countered, meeting her gaze head-on. And it's not just the slap. It's years of being treated like I'm less than you. My achievements get brushed aside while yours are celebrated like national holidays. That's not true, Mom protested weakly, her hands twisting in her lap. We're proud of both our girls. Really? I challenged. When I told you about my promotion at Boyd Creative, you barely nodded. But when Ariella announced her 5-month dating milestone turning into an engagement, you threw an impromptu party. Dad cut in, his voice gruff. Those are different things, Vanessa. Engagements are major life events. A career advancement isn't the same. I raised an eyebrow. Or is it that Ariella's achievements align with what you value and mine don't? Question hung in the air like a storm cloud, uncomfortably true and impossible to ignore. Mom suddenly became fascinated with tossing the salad on the kitchen counter, avoiding eye contact. Dad shifted his weight in the chair, looking older and more tired than I'd ever seen him. Those are pretty earrings, Mom said abruptly, changing the subject with all the subtlety of a sledgehammer. Are they new? Touched one automatically, the cool diamond catching the light. Yes. I bought them right after Ariella slapped me. They look pricey, she commented, her tone laced with disapproval, as if spending money on myself was some extravagant sin. They were. But I can afford them now, thanks to that promotion you barely acknowledged. Well, they're lovely, she conceded reluctantly, her eyes flicking away. We moved to the dining room in an uneasy quiet, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. As we took our usual seats, I noticed a fifth-place setting. Are we expecting someone? I asked, curiosity piqued. Trevor's joining us, Ariella said with a smug smile, her composure returning. Fiancés should be part of family dinners, don't you think? She emphasized fiancé deliberately, a not-so-subtle reminder of her coupled status versus my single one. It was a transparent grab for superiority, and in that moment I almost pitted her need to one-up me. The doorbell rang, and Ariella jumped up to answer it, her heels clicking eagerly on the hardwood floor. She returned moments later with Trevor in tow, a tall guy with a kind face and eyes that held a hint of uncertainty, like he wasn't quite sure what he'd walked into. He nodded politely as Ariella guided him to the seat next to hers. Trevor, you remember my sister Vanessa? Her tone made me sound like a distant relative rather than close kin. Sure, he said, offering a genuine smile. Congrats on the promotion. Ariella mentioned you're in graphic design. She did. The surprise slipped out before I could catch it. Yeah, she said you're really talented. I eyed Ariella, who was suddenly very busy fixing her napkin. Had she actually praised me behind my back? It was a small crack in her armor, unexpected and oddly touching. Thanks, I replied. And congrats on the engagement. Dinner proceeded with careful, surface-level conversation, everyone dodging the earlier landmines like pros. Dad talked about the latest school board meeting, his voice animated as he described a heated debate over curriculum changes. Mom complained about inventory issues at her boutique, gesturing with her fork as she lamented the latest shipment delays. Trevor shared stories from his real estate listings, his enthusiasm for a historic property in the suburbs lightening the mood a bit. By the time dessert was served, Mom's famous apple pie warm and cinnamon-scented, Trevor noticed my earrings again. Those are beautiful, he said, his tone admiring. Ariella told me about your visit to Bellamy's. That's an upscale spot. The mention of the visit made Ariella tense visibly, her fork pausing midair. I wondered what version of the story she'd spun for him, probably one that painted her in a better light. Yes, it was my first time, I said carefully, choosing my words. I met Harrison Walsh while shopping there. Trevor's eyebrows shot up. As in Harrison Walsh from Innovate Tech? I nodded. The one and only. I interviewed at his company on Friday. You did. Mom cut in, her voice laced with shock. You didn't mention it. I wasn't really interested in making a big deal, I replied honestly. It's just a career opportunity, not a life event. Dad winced, recognizing his earlier words thrown back at him. Of course we're interested, he said, his tone softer. Tell us about it. For the first time in what felt like forever, I had their undivided attention. I described the impressive HQ building with its sleek glass facade and bustling lobby, Amy's no-nonsense interview style that cut straight to the heart of my skills, and the innovative workspace filled with collaborative pods and whiteboards scribbled with ideas. They said they'd let me know by Wednesday, I concluded. It's a big step up in responsibility and pay. Wonderful, Vanessa, Mom said, and to my shock, her tone was sincere. We're proud of you, even if we haven't always shown it the right way. Those simple words brought an unexpected sting to my eyes, tears threatening to spill. It wasn't a full apology, but it was a start, a crack in the facade we'd all maintained for so long. Ariella remained quiet through most of it, but as we cleared the plates and headed to the kitchen, she approached me. You really met Harrison Walsh? She asked in a low voice, out of earshot from our parents. Yes, I said, rinsing a plate under the faucet. He mistook me for his wife at first. Ariella was quiet for a moment, processing. Then, that's pretty cool. I searched her face for sarcasm, but it seemed genuine, a rare moment of unguarded admiration. The earrings look nice on you, she added. I shouldn't have made a scene in the store. It wasn't a full apology, but coming from her, it was monumental. We were meeting halfway, and that felt like progress. Thanks, I replied. Your ring is beautiful too. Trevor seems like a good guy. She nodded, a small smile tugging at her lips. He is. He lectured me about the slap, said it was unacceptable. Smart man, I said, surprised to learn Trevor had a backbone under that polite exterior. Yeah, she agreed. Maybe I got lucky with this one. Driving home that night, I felt subtle shifts settling in. There were no dramatic fixes, no tearful hugs or profound revelations, but something had changed in me and maybe in them too. The city lights blurred past my window, a familiar comfort as I navigated the winding roads back to my apartment. My phone pinged as I pulled into the complex parking lot. An unknown number. I glanced at the message. Vanessa, this is Harrison Walsh. Amy was impressed with your interview. Before we make an offer, my wife Claire would like to meet you. She's heading back to London tomorrow, so lunch on Tuesday? Available. I stared at the screen, my heart racing. This implied a formal offer from Innovate Tech was on the horizon. I typed back yes eagerly, then caught my reflection in the rearview mirror. The diamonds in my ears caught the light, sparkling like distant stars. They were beautiful, yes, but they represented so much more now, my own value independent of my sister's opinions or my parents' approval. Sometimes the fights that hurt the most lead to the growth we need. Sometimes a slap in a jewelry store can change the trajectory of your life. 1 month later, I sat at a sleek desk on the 12th floor of Innovate Tech's HQ, putting the finishing touches on a presentation for our upcoming security app launch. The workspace was a dream. Panoramic city views through floor-to-ceiling windows, natural light flooding in and bouncing off the modern minimalist decor. A small succulent plant, a welcome gift from the team, sat beside my dual monitors, adding a touch of green to the high-tech setup. The shift had been swift and thrilling. I'd met Claire Walsh over lunch that Tuesday, a warm, intelligent woman who bore an uncanny resemblance to me, with her sharp features and confident demeanor. We clicked instantly, chatting about everything from design trends to family quirks. By the next day, the offer came through, a salary nearly double what I'd made at Boyd Creative, plus benefits like stock options, flexible hours, and a professional development fund. Giving notice to Natalie, my old boss, had been bittersweet. She'd been a great mentor, guiding me through the ropes of graphic design with patience and insight. How's the radar treating you? She'd asked with a curious smile when I explained the story behind my earrings and the slap at Bellamy's. I laughed, recounting the chaotic scene in the store, the sting of Ariella's hand, the shocked gasps from onlookers, and Harrison's timely intervention. Only you could turn a public slap into a career leap, Natalie had teased, pulling me into a hug. My new role as senior creative strategist was a perfect fit, blending autonomy with responsibility. I led a small team focused on visual identity and user experience for consumer products, brainstorming innovative ways to make tech intuitive and aesthetically pleasing. The work was challenging and fulfilling, pushing me to expand my skills in ways I'd only dreamed of before. I felt valued here, not just for my output, but for my ideas and perspective. Claire had become an unexpected friend and ally in this new chapter. Despite her wealth and position as Harrison's wife, she was refreshingly unpretentious, with a dry wit that matched my own. We started having occasional lunches in the rooftop garden, surrounded by blooming flowers and the hum of the city below. We'd share tips on navigating corporate politics and building genuine relationships in a cutthroat industry. Harrison told me about your sister's situation. I confided during one such lunch, stirring my iced tea as a gentle breeze rustled the leaves. I have a similar dynamic with my brother, years of therapy to stop seeking his approval. Her openness made me feel less alone in my family struggles. It was comforting to know that even people who seemed to have it all figured out were still wrestling with complex ties and old wounds. Harrison maintained a professional distance at work, treating me like any other employee, which was a relief. But he'd occasionally stop by my desk for thoughtful questions about projects, offering subtle mentorship that felt steady and supportive. The other employees accepted me on my merits, not because of how Harrison had discovered me, and that built my confidence day by day. On the home front, I'd upgraded to a bigger apartment in a vibrant neighborhood, complete with a fitness center and a community garden. The move was practical, closer to Innovate Tech's HQ, but it symbolized a fresh start, a professional chapter untainted by old patterns. The diamond earrings now held an honored place in my jewelry box, worn only for key presentations or special occasions. They reminded me of the day I stopped shrinking to fit others' insecurities. My phone buzzed with a text from Ariella, pulling me from my reverie. Our relationship had entered a new phase, not bosom buddies but less combative. After that tense Sunday dinner, we'd gone 2 weeks without contact, the silence heavy with unresolved tension. Then came her message. "I've been thinking about what happened. I shouldn't have slapped you. It was wrong. I'm sorry." The apology was short, almost curt, but it felt genuine. I responded in kind. "Thanks for acknowledging it. I'm sorry for my part too." Since then, we'd exchanged occasional texts, surface-level stuff about work or weekend plans, with no deep dives into the undercurrents of our past. But today's message was more substantial. Mom's birthday dinner next Saturday at 6. Trevor and I have some news to share. We'd like you there. I pondered the invite as I typed back. Family gatherings were still tense, laced with awkward pauses and unspoken histories, but each one felt a little less fraught. My parents had made small efforts too, asking genuine questions about my new job and life. Dad had even visited my apartment last week, insisting on installing some floating shelves in the living room. As he hammered away, he'd pause to say, "I'm really admiring this career jump of yours, Vanessa. It's impressive." "There," I texted Ariella. "Should I bring anything?" "Just yourself," she replied, followed by a second message. "Maybe wear those earrings. Mom said she liked them." A simple note, but it made me smile. Months ago, Ariella would never have suggested I wear something that drew attention to myself. It would have threatened her spotlight. Now it felt like an olive branch. As the workday wound down, I met Claire in the lobby as planned. Our Friday evening tradition had become a highlight. Walks through the nearby sculpture garden, discussing everything from work projects to favorite books and family anecdotes. The garden was a serene oasis in the urban sprawl, with winding paths lined by abstract metal sculptures and blooming perennials. "How was your week?" she asked, falling into step beside me under the canopy of trees. "Productive," I said, the crunch of gravel under our shoes punctuating my words. "The security app interface is nearly done. I hired a junior designer with killer animation skills. Harrison mentioned your team is ahead of schedule. He's impressed." Pride warmed my cheeks at the indirect compliment. "What about you? How was the tech conference?" Claire launched into stories about her keynote speech, describing the buzz in the auditorium and the challenging Q&A session that followed. As she spoke, I reflected on how drastically my life had shifted in just 4 weeks. Beyond the external wins, the better job, the nicer apartment, the financial security, the real transformation was internal. I now moved through the world with a quiet confidence, no longer leading with apologies or self-doubt. The path to this point hadn't been smooth. I'd started therapy sessions shortly after the slap, delving into the family patterns that had shaped my self-view for so long. Unearthing those roots, the favoritism, the subtle comparisons, the way I'd internalized Ariella's successes as my failures, was painful but necessary. Setting boundaries without guilt became a daily practice, each small victory reinforcing my resilience. "You look thoughtful today," Claire noted as we paused by a sculpture of twisted metal ribbons, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows. "I was just thinking about how different things were a month ago," I admitted. "It's hard to believe Ariella's slap at Bellamy's sparked all this." Claire smiled knowingly. "Catalysts aren't always pleasant, are they? But sometimes a shock is what it takes to shatter old patterns." "True," I agreed with a nod. "Though I wouldn't recommend public assault as standard career advice." We shared a laugh, the sound echoing lightly through the garden as we continued our walk, the evening light turning everything golden. That night, back in my new kitchen with its granite countertops and state-of-the-art appliances, I hummed contentedly while preparing dinner, a simple stir-fry with fresh veggies from the community garden. My phone dinged with an email. Approval for the professional development course I'd applied for, a deep dive into UX design for emerging tech. One more win, one more step forward. As I ate, my mind wandered to the upcoming family birthday dinner. There would likely be awkward moments, perhaps a twinge of old stress. Ariella's news could be anything: a pregnancy, wedding plans, or some other milestone that put her in the center again. But that was okay. Her joys didn't diminish mine anymore. There was space for both our stories in the world. I'd wear the earrings, not as a shield this time, but as a reminder. Holding my truth, even when it was tough, had opened doors to growth I never imagined. Remember, those tough clashes sometimes create the space for profound changes. My path from that moment at Bellamy's to now wasn't linear or easy. The road to self-worth rarely is, but every step is essential. The shame of the slap, the surprise connection with Harrison, the raw family confrontation, the leap to innovate tech, and the ongoing work of maintaining boundaries. The diamonds caught the light as I placed them back in their box for Saturday's dinner. They shone not just with their own brilliance, but with the story they carried. My story of discovering worth beyond others' validation. Sometimes the most pivotal life lessons come wrapped in hurt. Sometimes what feels like an ending is truly a beginning. And sometimes when someone tries to shrink you, the best response is to expand into your full, amazing self. Ever had a hurtful moment that led to a positive life shift? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments. And if this journey resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share with someone who might need this message today. Your worth isn't derived from others' views. It's inherent, unwavering, and absolutely true. Thank you for listening. Till next time, shine bright like those diamonds.